Hello everybody. This is the first time I can draft ranked War of the Spark. What's up everybody? It's Magic Max here, back with another video for you. I wanted to change gears a little bit actually with this War of the Spark video, and I have a few people watching my videos, but I enjoy making them. But what I wanted to do for this video is I wanted to approach this draft with the expectation that the people who are watching this draft, perhaps they haven't drafted as much. I've been reading a lot of things about Magic lately and hearing that there's a lot of new players joining. And if that's the case, and you guys get value out of this sort of style of descriptive drafting, I'm going to go through and describe cards and describe why I do or don't like them. Again, if you want to ask comments in the video or whatever, if you want to get my take on any kind of other cards that you see that I maybe didn't go into depth enough about, or if you disagree with any of my explanations for why I am picking or I'm not picking a card, then let me know. But without any further without any further ado, let's jump in here to our first draft of this beginner sort of style draft. Okay, so this is our first pack here. We've got this card here, Enter the God Eternals. It's a 5 mana sorcery, and it has a lot of text on it. Enter the God Eternals deals 4 damage to target creature, and you gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. So keep in mind that if the creature is removed in response, or you're unable to deal the damage for some reason, then you won't gain the life. Then target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and then amass 4. So the target player putting the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard can be, sometimes you target yourself, sometimes you target your opponent. Often you'll target your opponent just to try and mill them, maybe hit a bomb that they were hoping to draw the next turn. This can be pretty good as well if you killed a god and you put it on top of their library. You can then cast this to kill another creature and mill the god, which is pretty great. Amassing 4 is fine. It just is extra text on this card that I think already does a fair amount. 5 mana is fine for it. 5 mana basically getting a 4/4 is fine, and then also killing a creature. I think this card's pretty great. The next card here as one of our uncommons is Kaz Mina, Enigmatic Mentor. For 4 mana you get a Planeswalker with 5 loyalty. She only has downtick abilities, so you're not going to be able to recharge her abilities without things like Proliferate, or putting counters on her with, basically Proliferate. Spells your opponents cast that target a creature or planeswalker you control cost 2 more to cast. So this card here, I think that ability is fine. It's not the reason why I like this card. A lot of times in Magic, when you're drafting, you're considering what we call the vanilla test, which is basically for each mana symbol a card costs, what do you get for that mana? Wizards sort of makes cards that as they go up in cost they get better, but they also do this where, for example, Enter the God Eternals, we see double blue and black. That's a much more restrictive mana cost than you would see on a card like, for example, we could look at this Chain Whip Cyclops, which is 4 generic mana, any color you want, plus 1 red, and you get a 4/4 for 5. Now that's a pretty weak common. But you can see here this is 5 mana for a 4/4, which is already great, but getting to shoot another creature, gain life, and mill, these stats start to get pushed a little bit. And so how do they maybe rein it back in a little bit is by making the mana cost a little more restrictive. Kaz Mina here, she fits into basically any blue deck. Her mana cost isn't that restrictive. But when we consider the vanilla test again here, the vanilla test is often referring to creatures. Like if you have a vanilla creature here, this 4 mana 2/5, how much stats can you get on a creature for the mana cost? So like, for example, Primordial Worm here is a 6 mana 7/6, right? And usually you get 1 toughness and 1 power for 1 mana. So for example, a 1/1 that costs 1, a 2/2 that costs 2, a 3/3 that costs 3, and etc. But Primordial Worm here, for example, costs double green, and so you've got 1 extra power. So that's pretty good. Kaz Mina, Enigmatic Mentor, the reason why I bring up the vanilla test here is because if you look at her downtick ability, creating a 2/2 wizard creature token, for 4 mana, if you downtick her twice, going -2 loyalty to 3 and then -2 loyalty to 1, you're basically putting 4 power onto the board across 2 creatures. for 4 mana. So that already passes the vanilla test. So yeah, it takes 2 turns to get this power onto the board, but you also get other upsides, right? Like for example, your opponents can't remove the wizards or Kaz Mina without paying 2 extra mana for the spell that's being cast targeting either the wizards or any of your other creatures or Kaz Mina. She also loots, right? Draw a card, and then you can look at your hand and then discard a card, right? Often discarding a card and then drawing a card afterwards is significantly weaker than drawing a card and then discarding a card. Because if the card you draw is garbage, then you can just immediately discard it and protect your hand. So I think she's first pickable. I don't think she's as strong as Enter the God Eternals, but I think she's good. Leyline Prowler here is a 3 mana 2/3, so this one fails the vanilla test. For 3 mana we should expect a 3/3, but the lack of 1 power is made up for by the other abilities. So this one has Death Touch, which means that any creature you deal damage to, any amount of damage is enough to kill it. So if the 2/3 blocks this 7/6, they'd both die. Lifelink on a 2/3 is fine. You're not gaining tons of life with it. But 2/3 is quite nice because the 3 power allows you to kill 2 power creatures or 2 toughness creatures and keep your creature alive. Making mana is nice as well because this makes this creature kind of help power out maybe a 5-drop or a 6-drop. But in the later game, it's also not a terrible top deck because it's got other abilities. A 3 mana 2/3 with Death Touch and Lifelink is fine. I like this creature. I don't think it's first pickable, but I think it's pretty strong. Interplanar Beacon is a land. Whenever you cast a Planeswalker spell, you gain 1 life. Tap to add a colorless, and then 1 of another color. So you have to have another land that taps, and then you can add 2 mana of different colors. Spend this only to cast Planeswalker spells. So this card is, its power level is going to depend on how many colors you're in, obviously, and mainly what Planeswalkers you have in those colors. So this can't tap to cast spells of, creature spells or instants or sorceries or enchantments or artifacts, none of that. This can only cast Planeswalkers. So if you've got a lot of different colors of Planeswalkers, you could consider it. I think this card is weak, though. It's pretty terrible. You don't want to be in that many colors in this deck, and I just can't see it. Gideon's Sacrifice. This is a super weird card. It's an instant for 1 white, and you choose a creature or Planeswalker you control, and then all damage that would be dealt to you this turn and permanents you control is instead dealt to this chosen permanent instead. So it's basically the idea is like, they attack you or they attack your Planeswalker with 5 creatures, and all you've got is a 1/1, and so you cast this and you direct all the damage from your Planeswalker or you to this 1/1, and it just gets blown up. It seems all right. I'm trying to think right now. You gotta, when you're picking these cards, you have to think in what scenario you'd be drawing this and if it would be good or not. This card doesn't help you. Let's say you're losing the game and you draw Gideon's Sacrifice. At best, this is gonna soak up a bunch of damage, I guess. I just can't see it. I don't think this card's very good. Ironclad Krovod. Ironclad Krovod is a beast, 4 mana, 2/5. So if we're considering the vanilla test again, this one kind of fails the vanilla test. You get 1 extra power over 4 mana for a 4/4. You're losing 2 power, but you're gaining, 1 toughness. It seems kind of bad. Sorry, I hesitated there because I'm distracted by this thing's face. It looks as though it's got a ring on its forehead. Like this. Oh, I can't move my mouse. This thing right here looks like its face, and it's got a ring on its forehead and then 2 eyes. I guess that's supposed to be its nose or something. I don't know. It looks weird. Anyway, Callous Dismissal, bouncing something for 2 mana. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then amass 1. So you're getting a 1/1 for 2, which is meh. But you're also returning a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, which can be quite nice. I actually kind of like this card. I don't think it's first pickable, but I think it's you'll fill out a blue deck, with this card. You'll have a bunch of blue bombs, you'll have a bunch of blue removal, and then you'll have this thing, which is pretty good. Stealth Mission, 3 mana for 2 counters on target creature you control. That creature can't be blocked this turn. So the first question you could, again, we're asking ourselves, what scenario is this card good? Well, this card's good, I think, when you're trying to punch through and break a board stall. If you have, maybe a really huge amass creature. Maybe you're a blue-green deck and you have a Primordial Worm and they're at, 9 and you can punch them for 9. But again, this card is kind of mediocre. I have noticed in this set, though, that getting counters onto creatures is a lot harder than proliferating. Things like New Horizons, putting a 1/1 counter onto a creature you control, or Stealth Mission, which puts counters onto creatures you control, is really important because there's a lot of cards that just say, proliferate. And if you don't already have a counter on that creature, then it's going to be a lot harder. Well, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be allowed to proliferate because there's no counters on it. But once you can have a counter on it, the proliferate effects are much more common, and the creatures often just spiral out of control once you have a counter on them. So that can be useful as a method if you're looking at a deck that you're going, okay, well, how many ways do I have right now to get counters on things? This can be a fairly decent one. 2 power onto a creature for 3 mana, pretty good. And then that creature can't be blocked this turn is also fine. Shriek Diver, 3 mana flying, 2/1 against haste. So this card I don't mind. The reason why I don't mind this card is because it's actually pretty decent at killing planeswalkers, right? A 4 mana hasty 2/1 with flying with evasion is pretty good. Flying stops other creatures from being able to block it as easily, or they need something with reach or something with flying. And haste means that you can basically just play it out of your hand and immediately attack. So it can be hard to sort of play around. Maybe they played a planeswalker like Kaz Mina. They down-ticked her. And you've got, another flyer, and they're going, oh, I'm safe, Kaz Mina will go to 1, and then I can defend it. Oh, psych, Shriek Diver is going to come in here and just, bash the creature. So I kind of like this card. It's okay. Unlikely Aid. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until the end of turn. I love this art. It's Gideon riding Rakdos, who's like this demon thing. He's kind of fun. I built an EDH deck with him a long time ago, and it was a lot of fun. The old 4 mana Rakdos. Anyway, Unlikely Aid. I like that it's an instant. That's really sweet, because if someone goes like, oh, I'm going to cast, enter the God Eternals and kill your creature, you can go, haha, psych, it's indestructible. So you can really protect creatures really well with this. You can attack pretty well, give your creature some power, and make it indestructible. So this creature, again, stuff like Stealth Mission, Callous Dismissal, maybe not Callous Dismissal, but Stealth Mission a little bit, Shriek Diver, Unlikely Aid. These are all cards that are going to fill out your deck, right? You can only have so many, Kaz Mina, Enter the God Eternals, etc., of these kind of stronger pack one, pick one kind of cards. You hope that these things will be passed to you because the guy to my left right now is not in these colors. But, this is a fine card for filling out the rest of your deck. Chain Whip Cyclops. We spoke about him a little bit before and how he fails the vanilla test, but he makes up for the vanilla test. Instead of being a 5/5, you get the ability to make a target creature, can't block this turn. 4 mana to do that is a bit pricey, but, he's fine. Not that impressive, but whatever. Crawl Stinger I like quite a bit, actually. 3 mana for a 2/2, so it fails the vanilla test, but what does it get? It gets Death Touch. Death Touch on creatures in this format is pretty strong. There's a few big creatures kicking around, like Primordial Worm or things like this. So pretty good. Not first pickable, but, again, like these cards here, you'll play it in your deck and you'll be fine with it. New Horizons. This card I actually like quite a bit. I think that this is one of the stronger cards in this pack. Fixing mana is really, really good in this format, especially in green, because you can start to splash other planeswalkers, and the format's pretty slow, so you can, play this kind of more multicolor kind of base green deck. But putting a 1/1 counter, as we mentioned before, with Stealth Mission is pretty strong, and I like that ability of this card as well. Primordial Worm, pretty good. It surpasses the vanilla test, but the downside is that it costs double green. But by the time you're on 6 mana, double green is usually not that big of an ask. So, what card are we picking out of this pack? I think the pick here is Enter the God Eternals. It's removal. It does put us into kind of more restrictive colors, so for that reason, you could pick Kaz Mina. And now I'm even saying that, I'm even convincing myself maybe that Kaz Mina is better. No, I think I like Enter the God Eternals. I think we'll pick this. Although the problem is passing Kaz Mina is dangerous, because when we're passing this pack to the person, like if we were to take Kaz Mina, for example, pass this pack to the person to our left, they may take that as a signal that we're not in blue or black. However, if we take this card and we pass them Kaz Mina, that's the next best card in this pack, and the person to our left is most certainly taking Kaz Mina. So we're going to struggle with the person to our left for this blue color, right? So that makes it a little bit more difficult. You got to think about these things, because when the packs come back around to the right, you know, the guy, you're hoping the person to your left, you're hoping the person to your left is going to be passing you all of these blue cards. But if you gave them a card that, you know, puts them into blue in pack 1, especially if the next pack has 2 really good blue cards and we take one of the really good blue cards and pass them one of the really good blue cards, it's going to be a huge struggle. So for that reason, I almost want to take Kaz Mina, pass them Enter the God Eternals, and just sort of go from there. I don't know. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's take Kaz Mina. It might be wrong, but I'm happy to hear everyone's opinions later on. Alright, so Jaysis Triumph is a 3 mana, draw 2 cards. This card is better known as Divination. We've seen it in other sets before, but again, this has a little bit more upside. If you control a Jace Planeswalker, draw 3 cards instead. Divination's fine when you get it. It's, card advantage. We like it. Spending mana to get cards is what a control deck kind of wants to do. And in this format, blue-black is definitely a control deck. Jaya Venerated Fire Mage. If another red source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much to that permanent or player instead. 1 extra damage. Keep in mind, this is another, so Jaya's minus ability, which is deal 2 damage to any target, isn't going to deal 3. It deals 2. However, she's pretty strong. I like her in, some of the faster sort of decks. She's a good top end, although she is 5 mana. Maybe in the Izzet deck, if you're playing Izzet, you could play her. So maybe that's a consideration for us. Neoform is pretty good. Sack a creature, search your library for a creature that has +1 of that creature's mana cost, and then it gets a +1. So, like, for example, if we were to, sacrifice this Naga Eternal for 3 mana, we could search our library for a 4 mana card and put a 1/1 counter on it when it comes into play. Pretty fine. I think if there's some huge bomb in your deck that you're really trying to, like, hunt out, like if you're a deck that has a god in one of these colors, and Neoform's going to hunt that god out for you, and you're just going to win the game every single time you play it. In the pre-release, I had a Oketra, and I was a Bant deck that basically just splashed white for Oketra, and I had 2 Neoforms, and I just ramped as hard as I could, got a 4 mana card into play, sacked it, went and found Oketra, who's a 3/6 double strike. Now she's a 4/7 double strike. Very, very hard for my opponents to win the game. So getting a bomb out of your library with this card makes this kind of pickable, but otherwise it's okay, it's fine. We saw Gideon Sacrifice before. We didn't like it then. I don't think we like it now. Aven Eternal, 3 mana for a flying 2/2. So this fails the vanilla test, but we get one of the more powerful text boxes on a card, or words, I guess you could call it. Flying. I'm trying to say flying is really good. Evasion in this format is really great because it helps break board stalls. If both of you have a bunch of 4/4s on the table, it makes it hard to attack. Aven Eternal can break the board stall. It can attack. It also is helpful because it has a mass. So this is basically 3 power for 3 mana, and 2 of it is flying. So this card I think is just really strong. I really like Aven Eternal. Really powerful card. Naga Eternal, however, is distinctly shittier. Naga Eternal is 3 mana for 3/2. You don't even get the 3 power. You get 2 toughness, and it's just a vanilla creature. So this fails the vanilla test. Zombie and Naga are not creature types that really matter in this format. There's no real tribal form here. So this is pretty terrible. Herald of the Dreadhorde, 4 mana 3/2. When it dies, amass 2. Is fine. It's fine. It's pretty good. It's definitely slower, but it helps. You can chump block, get a 2/2. It's pretty good. Vraska's Finisher, 3 mana for a 3/2, so fails the vanilla test, but when it enters the battlefield, or ETBs, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. So if you attack, they block, and it's a big creature, they ate your creature, you can play Vraska's Finisher and destroy that creature. So I wish this creature had flash, because you could then block them and flash it in and kill the big creature that's attacking you. So that's a little bit worse, but I still think it's fine. It's not amazing. It's pretty good. Blind Blast, 3 mana, deals 1 damage to target creature. That creature can't block, draw a card. So this card is basically designed for sort of the Izzet spell, the red-blue spells deck that has things like Spell Gorger Weird, where whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you draw a card. Whenever the other card that's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Proliferate. You know, this is just 3 mana, do a kind of a minor effect, and then draw a card. So this card's going to replace itself. I think Blind Blast in the right deck is actually pretty great. I don't think it's first pickable, but if you're in the Izzet deck, you definitely want basically as many of these things as you can get, I think. You know, within reason. Chain Whip Cyclops we saw. Sarkhan's Catharsis, 5 mana, deal 5 damage to target player or planeswalker. Pretty good. It can destroy planeswalkers, which is great, and it can finish off players. It's a pretty simple card, but it's an instant, which is great. So you can hold up mana on their end step, you can blast them for 5, or shoot a planeswalker that they cast on their turn, and then you can untap. Pretty strong, pretty strong. Courage in Crisis. 3 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, then Proliferate. So this is a great card because it puts counters on things. A lot of them are just proliferating over and over again, but this one will actually put the counter on something. So, again, fine for green. Thundering Ceratok is a good finisher. This is great in like a blue-white, you know, big beaters kind of deck, or even a red-green deck that plays big creatures, you know, where you can give everything you control trample, and you get a 4/5 to kind of finish them off with next turn. You know, if you got a Chain Whip Cyclops on, you know, on one turn, and maybe next turn you play a Thundering Ceratok, then you can, you know, really get in for some damage. So looking at this pack though, Jaya's Venerated Fire Mage is pretty good, but I think that Aven Eternal is the pick here. You know, just that 3 mana for a 3/3, or 3 mana for 3 power, and 2 of it being flying, I think is just too good to pass up. So we're going to take that, and we're going to continue being in blue. Staying in a color I like. You know, picking your color and just sticking with it. So we saw in the last pack blue was kind of, you know, open, but as these packs go on, we want to start considering what cards are being passed. So for example, in this pack here, we can look white, Divine Arrow, it's kind of a removal spell. Blue, we've got 3 blue cards, and we'll go over which ones are powerful. White, blue, black, 2 cards here. We've got a removal spell, which I like, Spark Harvest. I think this is a really strong card, almost first pickable. 5 mana to destroy a creature is great. Shriek Diver we talked about before. White, blue, black, red. Burning Prophet is a pretty good card. This is what we like with that Blinding Spark, because whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can, you know, make it get more power, and then Scry, which will help set up your next draw, so you're not maybe land flooding or whatever. Demolish is absolute garbage. There's basically no reason to be playing this card. Destroying artifacts or lands is meh. You know, and then green, and we've got 2 green cards. We've seen a lot of these actually, but 2 good green cards here. But let's go through the cards here. So Challenger Troll is a 5 mana 6/5, so that's really good. You know, you get an extra power for basically no downside. Plus it says each creature you control with power 4 or greater can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. So double blocking is not going to be possible. I think this card is fantastic. This is really, really good. It's one of the big green uncommons, and you know, every green deck is going to want to play it. So that may be a consideration for us. Interplanar Beacon. We saw this before. We didn't like it. Next. Divine Arrow. 1 and a white for 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This card's been printed a couple times under different names. I think it was called Gideon's Reproach in Dominaria, maybe. But, you know, it's a fine card. It's instant, which is fantastic. I guess it would have to be instant if the attacking or blocking creature, because you have to do this in combat. You can't just remove a creature. So one of the downsides of this is that if they have some little utility creature that's like doing some important effect and just sitting there and not attacking you or blocking, you're not going to be able to remove it with this. But if there's a big creature that's attacking you, maybe like the Primordial Worm, it's a 7/6, you could block with a 2/2 and then shoot it. Just make sure that you don't, once you go to damage and you pass out of combat, the Divine Arrow is not going to be able to be cast. So you have to be in combat for this card to work. Contentious Plan, Proliferate, draw a card. So this card is very good for the Izzet deck. It you know, puts 1/1 counters on things. It is a non-creature spell, so it's going to trigger all of those non-creature spell effects. and it replaces itself. So again, things like Blinding Blast and Contentious Plan are great for those decks. Stealth Mission puts counters on things. We saw this before. Totally Lost is a 5-mana instant that puts a non-land permanent on top of its owner's library. This card is fine. It's not really removal because they're just going to cast it the next turn, but oftentimes it can buy you a turn if you're an aggressive deck. However, most aggressive decks aren't really going to be playing a 5-mana instant. It's not that great in my opinion. However, there is the Magical Christmas Land where if you have Ral Zarek, who's one of the planeswalkers in this set, you can copy the instants and sorceries you play this turn. So if you were to cast Totally Lost, you would get 2 copies, and you could bounce 2 things. I had someone cast it against me the other day. They cast it 7 times in a game using Ral. They were rebuying it from the graveyard using other cards that we might see later, and it was very frustrating to play against. Ultimately, I won that game, but it was very difficult. So this card is definitely more of a control card than a blue aggro card, but it's fine. Shriek Diver we spoke about. Spark Harvest is 1 mana. You can sack a creature to use it to destroy a creature or planeswalker, or you can just pay 5. I think this card's great. Its removal is always good. They talk about we always in draft talk about choosing bread. This is a bit of a cliche, but B is for bombs, R is for removal, and I don't remember anything else in the format. Yeah, I think E is for like efficient creatures. A is for I can't recall. Anyway, but the idea is basically that you're prioritizing removal quite heavily in these formats because ultimately it's going to be creatures that will win the game. And so removing creatures is going to make way for your creatures, which will hopefully win the game for you. So Spark Harvest, I think, is a contender here for a pick for us. Burning Prophet, we spoke about a little bit before, pumping up because of non-creature spells. It goes really well with stuff like Contentious Plan, Burning Prophet. Demolish is not very good. New Horizons we spoke about before, and Thundering Ceratok we spoke about before as well. So I think in this pack here, we've got a really good green card here, which I think we can read as a signal that green is open, because you look and you can consider, so there's 2 uncommons left, and we've taken 2 cards, so that means that the previous 2 players took the rare and 1 of the uncommons. So none of these have been taken. These are all the uncommons that were here. So you really can't get any signals from what's here, but you can get a signal from this saying, well, the uncommon that was taken over this Challenger Troll must have been pretty good. And I don't know that there's a lot of green uncommons that are better than Challenger Troll, so it was probably in another color. So for that reason, that makes me think that maybe Challenger Troll is the pick here. Spark Harvest is also strong, which is leaning me towards black. However, we did pass a couple of good black cards to our left, and so I would be mildly concerned that we're putting the player to our left into black, and we want to instead continue cutting blue, all the good blue cards, and just, hedge ourselves that way. Green, if we take green, that's a color that hasn't really passed anything to us yet, and so I can confidently expect the player to our left is not in green, unless they themselves opened some huge bomb, in green, and they're just going to force green now. I think Challenger Troll's a pretty safe pick. It puts us into another color, which is a little bit more dangerous because we're in blue here, but generally to pull you out of the color that you're already in, the card has to be pretty strong, and I think Challenger Troll does that. So we're going to go ahead and take Challenger Troll. So next up, Bond of Insight. So we have all 3 uncommons left. The rare is gone, and now 2 uncommons are gone. So now we can start to look at the uncommons and see what colors are left and think about what colors the people to our right are in, and maybe perhaps avoid those colors a little bit more. So Bond of Insight is a pretty good blue card. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty fine. Getting back 2 instants or sorceries from your graveyard for 4 mana is pretty strong. You also get to mill 4. Unfortunately, it exiles, so you can't loop it. If you just have 2 of them, you could just loop them forever of getting back, the other Bond of Insight and another card. Unfortunate. Storm the Citadel. I do like this card, by the way. I think that getting back 2 instants or sorceries from your graveyard, especially if you have a lot of removal in your deck, can be very, very strong. Storm the Citadel Until end of turn, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, destroy target artifact or enchantment depending player controls. I think this card is just meh. There's not a lot of artifacts or enchantments that we care about killing. There are a few strong ones, but this I think is more here for the Anthem effect. This +2/+2, where if you were like a white green deck, maybe splashing some red for some very aggressive cards, you could play this and just hope to overrun your opponent with a lot of damage. Mayim Devil, this card is 3 mana for a 3/3, which is pretty fine. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, it deals 1 damage to any target. So this is part of sort of the sacrifice deck in this set. Unfortunately, the sacrifice deck is not that good, and so this card is also not that good. It's just sort of an aggressive 3 mana 3/3, which is fine. It has a little bit of text for the couple times maybe when someone will sacrifice something. There's also a few Rakdos cards that make your opponent sack something, so maybe if you could make them sack stuff and then also deal damage to them, it's just more aggressive, I suppose. It's fine, and it's certainly not in colors that we're taking right now, so we're just going to ignore this card. Defiance Strike is a very aggressive 1 mana instant that gives a creature +1/+0 and then draws a card. Again, this is part of this whole sort of set of cards that do a thing and then draw a card. Good in these sort of Spells Matters decks because they replace themselves. This is a very aggressive version of that sort of thing. Divine Arrow we saw. Spellkeeper Weird is a pretty cool card. For 3 mana you get a 1/4, so that blocks pretty well, and then you can sack it to return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. I kind of like this card, even though it's got, sort of a Spellgorger Weird there in the bottom corner, and it's maybe hinting that you should be taking this in decks where, you've got to... Why is my brain not working right now to speak? This card is suggesting maybe that you want this in a Spells Matter deck, but I actually like this better in a control deck. I think it's better in maybe a blue-black deck where you can, cast Enter the God Eternals and then get back into the God Eternals and cast it again, and you have an 8/8 and you've killed 2 creatures. It's just huge. You need to be rebuying pretty powerful spells with this, I think, to make it worthwhile. Blind Blast we saw, it's pretty good. Chandra's Pyrohelix is pretty good also. It's great for shooting little creatures, 2/1s and 1/1s and anything maybe that's flying or blocking or whatever. You can shoot 2 creatures, or you can just shoot 1 creature. You can shoot a creature and a player. You can basically shoot anything you want for 2 damage, split up however you like. So it's pretty great. 2 damage isn't that much in this format, so sometimes you'll just be sort of looking at your hand going, man, they have a lot of 3/3s. Turret Ogre is a reach 4/3 for 4. It's fine, fails the vanilla test, but it has reach, which is fine. And then when it enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with power 4 or greater, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So that's fine. Pretty aggressive card. Definitely better in a green-red deck that plays like bigger creatures that maybe smash things. That's sort of the smashy feel of green-red. Courage and Crisis we saw, putting counters on things again is strong. And then Saheeli's Silverwing, a flying 2/3 for 4, and when it enters the battlefield, look at the top card of target player's library. This card's fine. 4 mana for a 2/3 is obviously terrible, but with flying, it gets a little bit better. If your deck cares about artifacts, this card could be good. Looking at the top card of an opponent's library, though, is just meh. It's not that good. So what card are we taking in this pack? So if we're considering what is open, we can see here that there are no just black cards. And so that says to me that we were right to read the signals last time of going, well, we passed a few good black cards, and so the player to our left is probably in black. But now we're also seeing that the player to our right is probably in black as well. So we are not interested in taking black. We can't now. However, there are a couple cards here that interest us. So Bonds of Insight is pretty good in blue. So blue looks like it continues to be a little bit open. Red, I think, is a little bit open here. And green, nah, not so much. I don't think green is quite as open in this pack. Now, there are 2 green cards still here, so this just could be all the green that was in this pack anyway. And maybe nobody took any green. But I think in this pack we're going to continue our blue theme here. We're going to take Bond of Insight. It's a pretty good card. So apparently black is being passed to us again. Bond of Passion is a 6 mana, gain control of target creature an opponent controls, or I guess of any creature, sorry. Untap that creature, gains haste, and then it deals 2 damage to any other target. This is fine. If you can sacrifice the creature you steal after combat, that makes it even better. But Bond of Passion to me is just not that great. Maybe in a really rampy green red deck, it could be good. But if you're playing against some aggro deck, stealing an opponent's 2/2 is just going to be awful. You want to be stealing something really big with this. Charmed Stray, 1 mana for a 1/1 lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 on each other creature you control named Charmed Stray. So the question here, with all of these sorts of cards that are like they do things if you have multiples of the same card, is how many of these multiples are you really going to have? Probably not that many. Maybe 2. What's the best case scenario? 3? So it's like, okay, you played your Charm Stray, you got a 1/1 lifelink. You played your second one, you put a counter on that one, so now you have a 2/2 and a 1/1. And then maybe 5 turns later you draw your other one if you're lucky. That just seems like too big of an ask for me. This card is just very mediocre. Defiance Strike we talked about. Aid the Fallen. Now this card I actually like a lot. Return a creature card, or choose one or both, return a Planeswalker card for 2 mana. So this card, if you imagined it as draw, if it said draw 2, but you always drew a Planeswalker, your best, like a good Planeswalker and a good creature, we'd be all over this card, right? But rebuying stuff from your graveyard, I think, is quite good, especially in a slower format like this, where you can basically chump block off your stuff and then later on get it back. I think it's great. I think most black decks would like to play at least one. Lazotep Behemoth is a 5 mana 5/4. Enough said. Lazotep Reaver, however, is a 2 mana 1/2 that makes a 1/1. So you're basically getting 2 power, 3 toughness for 2 mana. I think this card is pretty good. It's filler for a black deck, but you like it. I think you'll like this card. Turd Ogre we spoke about. Crawl Stinger we spoke about. Guild Globe, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then you can sack it to make 2 mana of different colors. Now that's important. So if you have something like God Eternals and you're trying to make double blue, this card won't do it for you. However, replacing itself is good. Play it, draw a card. This is good for the decks where you are splashing maybe one card that's off of your color pair. For the most part in this format, you don't want to be going into 3 colors, 4 colors, 5 colors. Maybe if you have a lot of mana fixing from green, or you have a bunch of Guild Globes, there's also a Manalith or Mana Geode, I think it's called, is a 3 mana artifact that taps for 1 of any color. This, however, Guild Globe is for a card where you're splashing. Maybe we're like a green-blue deck, and we were like, oh wow, Aid the Fallen so strong, let's splash it. And this allows you to basically make the mana 1 time. Iron Bully, this card is pretty fine. It's a menace 1/1 for 3 mana, which is on its face pretty terrible. But you can enter, when it enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So it can put it on itself, so you get a menace 2/2 for 3, which is fine. However, proliferating a creature that has menace is pretty good because it makes it harder and harder to block, especially as it's so large. You've got to be throwing multiple creatures after it. Iron Bully can be pretty good in the sort of proliferate deck. So, believe it or not, I actually kind of like Iron Bully here because these colors end up putting a lot of counters on things. However, Crawl Stinger I think is pretty good. Lazotep Reaver, is pretty strong. I think the pick here is somewhere between maybe Reaver, maybe Crawl Stinger. If we take Crawl Stinger, we pretty much, I think, guarantee that the person to our left and a few players in a row are not in green. Man, this is a tough one. All these cards are kind of similar power level. What's been taken? So a rare, 2 uncommons, and then, a rare, 2 uncommons, and a common. So we don't see any blue in the commons here, so maybe blue was taken by somebody to our right, and black was not. I think maybe going into black is fine here. Challenger Troll definitely works better in a deck with a lot of 4 power creatures, which if we're proliferating a lot, we could maybe get there, but maybe this card isn't quite as good with these other 3. Like, I think these 2 cards here are really pulling us towards blue. This is pulling us towards green. This is kind of meh in terms of being an argument for blue. It's fine. I guess the question here is do we want to start pulling in other colors for these mediocre cards? I think we would want a stronger, maybe a stronger reason to go into black. I think we just take this Crawl Stinger. Alright, so we're getting past more black, which is interesting. Relentless Advance, let's see, Bond of Revival, returns a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until your next turn. So 5 mana to get back basically the best creature in your graveyard. It's fine. Relentless Advance is a amass 3, basically make a 3/3 for 4. So that fails the vanilla test. The reason why this is good is, or not good, the reason why this is maybe pickable is because you are able to put the 3 counters on another army you control, and if you have spells matter decks kind of, then you'll like this card. Lazotep Reaper we saw, Finisher we saw, Assailant is a 2 mana 2/2, fine, it's the vanilla test. 3 mana for a 4/3, now that's a little bit better than the vanilla test, but it can't attack alone. However, in the green-red deck, a lot of red 4 power stuff matters for things like Challenger Troll. Steady Aim, untap target creature, it gets +1/+4 and gains a reach. It's okay. Guild Globe we saw, and Gateway Plaza. So Gateway Plaza is actually, I kind of like this card. It is one of the few lands that actually fixes mana in this set. It's not like other sets where you have lands that actually tap for 2 colors. In almost every pack. Gateway Plaza only comes in a few packs as an uncommon, as a common, and excuse me, taps for any color. I actually like Gateway Plaza here though. However, I would like to note that again we're seeing some black cards here. We didn't see so much red before, but we're seeing a bit of red right now. We're not seeing blue so much. I think we take Gateway Plaza and it allows us in these colors a little bit more maybe. Hard to say, hard to say. The worry is that we're passing to our left already a lot of black cards, and then when the packs come back to the right, we're not going to get any black. I think the pick here is between Gateway Plaza and Reaver. The problem is also that Challenger Troll and these cards here don't really go together. Challenger Troll is definitely for a different deck. A 6 mana, a 5 mana 6/5 is pretty strong, but really its secondary ability, I guess, works on itself. I suppose it's just kind of strong on its own. I do like Gateway Plaza. I don't know. I think I kind of regretted not taking black last pack, so I think we'll take black this time. See what happens. Bolt Bend. Instant. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, change the target of a spell or ability with a single target. So you can just redirect something to something else for 4 mana. But if you have a Challenger Troll out, for example, it costs 1 red. This is, I think, pretty good for protecting some of your bigger creatures in the red-green deck. I do not mind this card at all. Enforcer Griffin is a 5 mana flying 3/4. It's okay. Pretty good stats. But and you'll play it. You'll be happy to play it. But it's just, again, it's kind of filler. Stealth Mission we spoke about. Teferi's Time Twist. Exile target permanent you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. If it enters the battlefield as a creature, it enters with a +1/+1 counter. This card I think is pretty cool. There's a bunch of different scenarios where this card is useful. So for example, if you're trying to reset the counters on a Planeswalker like Kaz Mina. Kaz Mina, you go down tick, she's at 1. You Teferi's Time Twist, she's at 5 again. Pretty great. Teferi's Time Twist can also protect from removal spells. It can protect from damage. You can, with your 1/2 Lazotep Reaver, you could block a bigger creature and then Teferi's Time Twist it to exile it. It comes back into the battlefield. It enters the battlefield again. Plus it gets a +1/+1 counter from Teferi's Time Twist, and it grows. I think that's a pretty good card. It amasses again. Not a bad card. Unlikely Aid we spoke about. Grim Initiate is a first strike for 1/1/1. And when it dies, you make a 1/1 zombie. Or put a 1/1 counter on a zombie army you already control. This is fine. It's very aggressive. We're not going to be playing it. Arboreal Grazer. Some sort of weird monkey thing. It has a reach. It's a 0/3 for 1. When it enters the battlefield, you can put a land card from your hand into the battlefield tapped. So this card's actually pretty fine. A 0-3 reach is pretty good for some of the more aggressive decks that maybe have some flyers. Also, if you can put counters on it in the late game, it doesn't have defenders, so it can attack, which is pretty cool. And then Force Landing is excellent flying creature removal. This is probably one of the better removal spells for some of the for the Flying God, the blue Flying God, because instead of putting it into their library third from the top, you can just put it into the bottom of their library. It's really, really strong, but very narrow, obviously. So I think in this pack we're looking here between Teferi's Time Twist and maybe Arboreal Grazer, but I think I like Time Twist a little bit better. Although I could consider taking a stealth mission at this point. No, I think Time Twist is fine. So again, we're looking here. Green continues to be kind of open, not that open. This card's fine, but we'll go through them. Devouring Hellion is a 3-mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of creatures or planeswalkers. If you do, it enters with twice that many 1/1 counters on it. So this thing is going to eat your whole board to come in with a whole bunch of counters, and if it gets removed, you just lost everything. So this is a swingy card, because if you can like eat 3 creatures and put 6 counters on it, or eat 2 creatures and put 4 counters on it, pretty good, pretty good. I just can't see this being, worthwhile a lot of times, especially if you're eating planeswalkers. That just sounds crazy. Charmed Stray, well, we could have 2 of them right now, I guess. War Screecher is a flying 1/3 that for 6 gives other creatures you control +1/+1. I like this card. I think it's pretty great. Flying is good. Putting counters on it makes it better. 6 mana to pump your team is pretty great. It's fine. It's a little more for the Boros deck, I think, the red-white deck, but we'll comment on it, I suppose. Not for our deck, though. Totally Lost. It's fine. Lazotep Behemoth, 5/4 for 5 is fine. It definitely triggers Challenger Troll. Crunch Wrangler. We saw the Crunch earlier, but this is a trample 2/1 for 2. Excuse me. A trample 2/1 for 2 that if a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it. So this thing grows as you play big creatures, which is fine. Guild Globe, though, I think might be the pick here. We're starting to look like maybe a slightly slower deck. This whole format's pretty slow, but I don't mind Guild Globe. In this pack, what are we reading here? This card is pretty good, so I think maybe, there's nobody to our right a couple seats that is playing white. But none of these cards are really all that huge of a signal. The fact that there's all these colors here, red maybe is a little bit open, but I don't think this card is all that great. But, yeah, we'll take probably... I guess we take a Behemoth. Totally Lost. It's one of these 3. We're kind of a Sultai deck right now. Draw a card. 2 mana with different colors. If we end up being 3 color, we probably want this. We'll take Guild Globe, sure. Interplanar Beacon. Stealth mission's fine. We've seen all these cards. Let's take the big boy Primordial Worm. Oh, interesting, the Neoform Wield. So if the Neoform Wield, that says to me that people can be in green, people can be in blue, but they're probably not in green-blue, unless there was a better card for them to be taking at that point. So when you see this, you start to know exactly what has gone around the entire table. So a green card has gone around the entire table, a blue card has gone around the entire table, a blue-green card has gone around the entire table, a Blind Blast in red, and so red is probably kind of open. At least there's not multiple players in red, and there's probably not multiple players in these colors here. But I think we probably just take Neoform is fine. And we're getting back blue and green cards here again. So I think that New Horizons is probably a bit better for us than Stealth Mission. And I think that Courage and Crisis is a fine pick here. And we'll take a Behemoth, sure. We'll take a Goblin Assailant, but we're not playing that, so we'll move it to the sideboard. Alrighty then. Alright, let's jump into it. Mizium Tank, Trample 3/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it becomes an artifact creature and gets +1/+1 till the end of the turn. You can also just make it an artifact creature by crowing 1, which means you tap any number of creatures with total power 1 or more, which is going to be 1 creature, and it becomes a creature. Price of Betrayal. I think this card is fine. We're not in red, although maybe we should be. We're not in red, but there it is. Price of Betrayal removes 5 counters from an artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent. Not that good. Dreadhorde Twins is 4 mana for a 2/2 that makes a 2/2 and gives zombie tokens you control trample. So this is, I think, a pretty strong red card and a convincing argument, for playing red. Maybe we've been reading these packs wrong and we should be taking this, but I don't know. Ashiok Dream Render, 1 and then split blue-black, which means you can play blue or black for each of those. And then spells or abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. This card is not that good in this kind of format. Or sorry, that ability we'll say is not that good in this format because there's not a lot of effects that make you shuffle your library, search your library. However, her -1 is put 4 from their library in the graveyard, so really you're able to put 20 cards with this into their graveyard. It's not a bomb, but I think it's pretty strong. Could be a contention for our pick here. Pouncing Lynx is white, and we have no reason to be in white. I don't think this card is that... It's okay. It's very aggressive. If it's your turn, it has first strike, so it can continue attacking, maybe if they have 2 toughness creatures that, they might want to block with. Erratic Visionary draws a card, then discards a card, which is pretty good for 2 mana. I kind of like it. Spellkeeper Weird we spoke about. Teferi's Time Twist we spoke about and picked. Finisher we've spoken about. Talked about it. Arlen's Wolf, a 3/2 that it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So this is only going to be able to be blocked by creatures with power 3, 4, 5, whatever. Pretty okay. Arlen Cord cares when her card, it's a planeswalker, green planeswalker, she cares when wolves enter the battlefield. So this could maybe be good if you're doing that, or if you're in green, which we are, but if you're looking for some, 3 power creatures, I suppose it could be fine. Thundering Ceratok is fine. Gateway Plaza, we saw this before. It's pretty good. But I think the pick here for us, I think this may be the best card. Ooh, let's not pick that. Dreadhorde Twins, I think, is probably one of the strongest cards in this pack. But I think that Ashiok is just better for our deck. So let's go ahead and take Ashiok. Bond of Discipline taps all creatures your opponents control, and your stuff gets lifelink. I like this. You get to tap all their stuff and attack them. And a lot of times, too, when you tap all their stuff and attack them, they'll just untap and attack you back and maybe kill you. But this gives you lifelink, so your creature's lifelink. So maybe you can tap all their stuff, attack, gain a bunch of life, untap, and then just attack and, maybe kill them. Pretty good. Not for our deck, but pretty good. Teo the Shield Mage. He makes 0/3s for -2, and you have hexproof. He's a 3-mana planeswalker. He can make 2 of them and then just sit there. There's one card in this format, Saheeli, no, not Saheeli, Huatli, I think she's called. She's like a green-white planeswalker, and she makes your creatures deal damage with their toughness. And so he's pretty good if you're playing her. He's pretty good if you're also a blue-white control deck. He can kind of clog the board with stuff. He's fine. He's not for our deck, though. Cyclops Electromancer. When Cyclops Electromancer enters the battlefield, deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Pretty good. It comes in on 5 mana for a 4/2, which isn't that great. But if you can blow up some big creature of theirs with all the instants and sorceries, then it can be pretty good. So I don't actually mind this card that much. Top of the statue, taps a permanent. If it's an artifact, destroy it. Draw a card. Nah. Callous Dismissal we saw. Crush Descent is a 4-mana instant that counters a target spell unless its controller pays 2 and then amasses 2. Excuse me. This card is fine, I guess. By the time you're on turn 4, it's going to be a little bit harder to, in the gotcha kind of situation of an opponent taps a bunch of lands to pay for something, and you go, haha, counter unless you pay 2. If they're on 4 mana, they're probably, you're only really going to be able to counter the really big stuff that they cast, and only if they really tap out for it. So this card I think is kind of weak. Amassing 2 makes it a little bit better, but if it was 1 less mana, or it was counter unless you pay 3, I could see it, but I think it's just too expensive for too little of an effect. Cure's Dambreaker is a 6-mana 5/6, and when it enters the battlefield, proliferate. So that I kind of like for our deck. We can consider our deck here going, this thing makes a something that can be proliferated. This potentially makes counters that can be proliferated. This potentially makes counters that can be proliferated. This does. These two do. Ashiok can be proliferated. Kaz Mina can be proliferated. And that's about it. So Kiora's Dambreaker could be the card that we pick here. Banehound is a 1-mana 1/1 with lifelink and haste. Meh. Tithe Bearer Giant, 6 mana for a 4/5, definitely fails the vanilla test, but when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life. So even if they remove this card, you are not losing card advantage, which in draft can be very important. Card advantage is basically, if you use one card to remove an opponent's one card, then you're even. But if you play this, you're forcing your opponent to probably use a card to remove this, but you already drew another card, so you don't really lose anything in terms of card advantage for playing this. All you lose is mana, which is going to untap the next turn anyway. So this card I think is pretty great. It could be a pick for our deck here. We do have Challenger Troll, which cares about its 4 power. We can make it maybe bigger or something. You can also Teferi Time Twist it, and you can draw more cards with it. Kind of cool. That could be a pick for us. Chandra's Pyrohelix we saw, shooting little creatures. Courage and Crisis we picked. And Force Landing, this very narrow flying creature removal spell, is more of a sideboard card. And then Gateway Plaza. So in this pack, the rare was picked, so that doesn't tell us a lot here. But I think passing now to our right, I could see picking Dambreaker, I think, or Tithe Bearer Giant. And I think, we do have a lot of things to proliferate. But I think this is 6 mana. This is also 6 mana. So they're basically the same. They are the same. However, black, we don't really have a lot of reason being black right now, and this is not enough reason. I think we take the blue card and continue considering being blue-green only. Dread Malkin is a 1-mana 1/1 with Menace. You can pay 3 and sack another creature or Planeswalker to put 2 counters on it. It's fine. It's part of, we saw that card earlier, whenever a player sacks a permanent, you can deal damage to things. This is kind of the effect, I guess, that they're hoping us to use. I'm not convinced by it. Devouring Hell. Excuse me. Devouring Hellion. I need some water. Devouring Hellion we saw. Defiance Strike we saw. War Screecher we saw. Erratic Visionary we saw, which I like in this pack. I think that's a good card for us. Naga Eternals, meh. Dusk Mantle Operative. 2 mana for a 2/2, so it passes the vanilla test, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. So this can be blocked and killed by 3/3s, and it trades with 2/2s, but it can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. So that could be good. Could be fun. Especially if you can put counters on it. Lazotep Behemoth, we already picked one. I don't really think we want more. Spellgorger Weird. So here's the payoff for the blue-red deck that we were sort of commenting on earlier. I think this seat could have drafted some of the red blue cards and kind of gone into this. I think if we see more bombs later on, then maybe there could be a convincing argument for us to be playing, red. But I don't know. We'll see. Band Together is a removal spell. 2 target creatures you control each deal damage to another target creature. So you can use 2 of yours, 2 little guys maybe, to deal damage to an opponent's creature. And it is not a fight, so your creatures are safe, which is good. And then a worm. So I think I like Band Together here because, again, we spoke before about bombs, removal, efficient creatures, and that BREAD acronym. This is removal. It's pretty cheap. It's an instant, so we're going to pick that. So here we see we'll start here. Flux Channeler is one of the better cards for the blue-red Spells Matter deck. So we're starting to see here that we may have drafted this seat excuse me, incorrectly. Maybe we should be in a blue-red Spells Matter deck, but Flux Channeler is a really strong card for that kind of deck with all those like Blinding Blasts and things like that. Cruel Celebrant is a 2 mana 1/2, but when other creatures die, you drain life. They lose 1, you gain 1. So this is supposed to be for the, I guess white, black kind of aristocrats deck. Aristocrats is where you sacrifice things and kill your opponent by sacrificing stuff. White-black is not super strong in this set. Mardu, I think, like red, white, black is where you want to be, but you know, this card is needed for that deck, and it's at uncommon. I think it's kind of tough. War Screecher we saw, Callous Dismissal we saw, Dambreaker we picked. Aid the Fallen we saw, Behemoth we saw. Vampire Opportunist is a pretty sweet card actually. 2 mana for a 2/1, but 7, drain 2, and you gain 2, which is pretty cool. Pyrohelix, Assailant, and Pollen Bright Druid. Pollen Bright Druid, when it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 on target creature, and then proliferate. So I think the pick here is between Flux Channeler. I think it's actually maybe just Flux Channeler. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 non-creature spells. 7, 8, 9 non-creature spells. Yeah, this is definitely the pick here. It's just too good. Oh, there's Huatli. She's the one that can help in that kind of big toughness creatures deck. Right now she actually shrinks 2 of our creatures, grows 1. I don't think we're probably playing black. We're going to throw these guys over here so we can keep them in mind, but probably not play them. She doesn't do anything to those ones. She makes these 2 smaller, which is funny, because each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, but then you gain life equal to the toughness among creatures you control. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Jaysis Triumph is that divination we saw earlier. Enforcer Griffin, Contentious Plan, Tamio's Epiphany, 4 mana, scry 4, then draw 2. That's pretty strong. That's pretty good. It helps you refill your hand a little bit with really efficient cards because you get to look at the top 4 and basically choose 2 that you want in your hand and set up your draws maybe for the next turns. We've seen these guys band together as removal. This is a little bit of a harder pick, I think, for me here. Huatli, I think, is pretty strong. I've seen her. I think she's very undervalued. Gaining life is pretty great, and if you can have, you know, small, like 1 mana 0/4s, they now 1 mana 4/4s, which is pretty awesome. And it also can really help you in the late game where you need to gain some life and maybe stabilize. Can be useful. Jaysis Triumph is pretty good. Drawing 2 cards for 3 mana is pretty great. Tamio's Epiphany, I think I like, especially because now we're starting to look at our mana curve here. We have a lot of 3-drops. Courage and Crisis is something we could consider cutting. But, you know, Jaysis Triumph is now really starting to clog this 3-drop slot. So is Huatli. We're really looking for like maybe some more 4-drops and some 2-drops. So perhaps Tamio's Epiphany is good. Band Together, though, is just really strong. This is a really tough pack. I think we have to take the Band Together. Band Together is removal. I think we'll maybe see more Band Togethers, though, because judging from right now, I think we're in the right colors, because we're really seeing a lot of blue-green here. We do eventually want probably some number of Arboreal Grazers as well for our 1-drop slot, most likely. I think we just have to take... I think we take Huatli. This is when you can comment on the chat. This is a tough pick for me here. My brain's hurting. Let's take Huatli. Let's try her out. We'll see how she does. So here we're seeing some black. Here's the pretty good. Invade the City is pretty good. I think this is a pretty strong card for the Spells Matter deck, which again, we're starting to see maybe we should have been in. Erratic Visionary for us. You know, it's pretty good. When it dies, Proliferate. You can see here how a lot of these cards just say Proliferate, but they don't put 1/1 counters on things. This is an example of one of those cards. Aid the Fallen we've spoken about. We've spoken about most of these cards here. And Crop Invader is another one, a 3-mana 2/2. So this fails the vanilla test, but on your turn it's first strike, and you can sack other creatures to give it +2 So this is part of that sort of sacrifice theme, and it's a pretty aggressive card, and especially with first strike is quite nice. Cards here for us I think are either Visionary or Arboreal Grazer, and I think Visionary is just stronger. Plus it's a 2-drop, which we said we were looking for, so I think we take that. Jiang Yangu Wildcrafter. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has add many of any color, and then put 1/1 counters on things. So he can put 2 counters on things before he has to die to remove his last counter. He does help us power out some of these bigger creatures, I suppose. He's fine. Neoform ain't bad either. Sky Theater Strix. This is more of the Spells Matter red blue kind of blue card, because we've got a lot of blue here, but some of it is for the red blue deck. I could see us taking Yangu. Yeah, let's take him. Storm the Citadel we saw. Kaz Mina's Transmutation makes a creature a 1/1 and loses all abilities for 2. Time Twist we saw. Davriel's Shadow Fuge, discard 2 cards, lose 2 life to target player. Guild Globe New Horizons. So Kaz Mina's Transmutation I've found actually is pretty strong. It's kind of removal, and especially for those gods, which when they come down are just so devastating. You can just put this on a god and you don't have to think about it again. I think we take the Transmutation. Spellgorger weird, really only returns, I don't know, band together I suppose. Yeah, we'll pass on that. Time Twist could be good. I think we like Thundering Ceratok here though. It helps us on our 5-drop slot. It has some synergy with the Challenger Troll. Yeah, let's take that. These are all cards we've seen before. Honestly, they're all pretty bad. You just kind of pick whatever you like, you know, the most. I don't think we need another Courage and Crisis, but I don't really like Crush Descent. We'll take that, because we'll probably play one Crush Descent before we're playing a second Courage and Crisis. Naga Eternal, we do not need more 2-drops. Take a Primordial Worm. Take a Dam Breaker. Ooh, Arboreal Grazer. Arboreal Grazer. Dude, that's awesome. Thanks for coming out, Arboreal Grazer. Well, Karn the Great Creator. Maybe not the best in this format. What artifacts do we have in our sideboard? Maybe we can take some artifacts and put them in our sideboard. So right now all Karn does in our deck is make this thing into a 2/2. Yeah, I just can't see taking him. He's just not that great. Black spells, opponents sack creatures, Gleaming Overseer. Amass 1. Zombie tokens you control have hexproof and menace. That's a pretty good card. Remember too, these are now coming the same way back as pack 1. So these cards are coming back around from the player that we got them from in pack 1. So pack 3, pick 1. I don't like this because you're not really returning anything all that. Well, I don't like it because it's black, and we are not a black deck. We're removing this stuff right now as well, because we can get that out of here. Another thing you can start also doing at this point is your final deck is going to be 23 cards. So you can actually start removing cards, because already with this deck, like this deck is finished. Even if we didn't take any more cards, obviously we want more and upgrades, but you know, you can start pulling the weaker cards out of here. Like for example, Crush Descent, we don't really like that much. You know, maybe something like Neoform. What does Neoform do for us? It turns an Arboreal Grazer into a Visionary. It turns Visionary into one of Aven Eternal, Flux Channeler, Crawl Stinger. Then it turns one of those. Ooh, it can't go from a 3-drop to a 4-drop because there's no 4-drops, and we can't go from 4-drop to 5-drop because there's no 5-drops. or sorry, there's no 4-drops to sacrifice. But we can change these, so maybe Neoform comes out. We can consider it later. These are all great. Courage and Crisis is a little weak maybe, and especially in this clogged up slot here. Watley's fine. Ashiok's fine. Yep. 22 of 40. So right now we're looking, I think, towards... Man, there's not a lot here for us. Snare Spinner. Whenever it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0. That I actually don't mind, especially because we're sort of... All we have is this for reach. Sure, I think we take Snare Spinner. It's pretty good. Pretty good, pretty good. Samut Tyrant Smasher. Wow, this girl needs to wash her hair. What does she do? 4 mana for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Creatures you control have haste. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until the end of turn. So you play her on 4. You give the Aven Eternal or something like this that you played the turn earlier. You give it some stats and scry 1. Then the turn after you play this, you play Challenger Troll and make it a 7/6 haste. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. Sack it, you can flash spells in. Meh. Very much more control deck. I think maybe even a constructed deck card. Trusted Pegasus is a pretty good card. It's a flyer, 3 mana flyer. It's got 2 toughness, 2 power, and whenever it attacks, another creature gains flying. This is really good for the aggressive, like red-white deck, I guess. You can give other creatures flying, and it makes it harder to kill them, or block them, sorry. Ooh. Wall of Runes. If Huatley's out, this is a 4/4. And it scries 1 for 1. Oh, damn, that's so sick. I think we could probably just take Samut. Narset. Look at the top. 4 cards of your library. Reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. What does she get us? She gets us Transmutation, Time Twist, Band Together, some of these Planeswalkers, New Horizon, Bond. Oh, she actually hits quite a bit. I think for you to, like, you're going to miss with her a lot. That's the problem. And drawing more than 1 card each turn is kind of meh. I think in Constructed she's sort of really good, especially in like some of the older formats. Just here in Draft, I don't think she's that good. Evolution Sage is a 3 mana 3/2. Whenever a land enters a battlefield under your control, proliferate. So here is a very strong green card. Up there with Challenger Troll, I think, in terms of, you know, power. I think that's a strong contender for our pick in this pack. Firemind Vessel is a 4 mana, add 2 mana of different colors, but enters the battlefield taps. If you're trying to play a deck with like a bunch of colors, you could play this maybe with Karn. If we had picked Karn, maybe we would have picked this. I don't know. Probably not. Contentious Plan, Visionary, we've seen all this, Gateway Plaza. I think Evolution Sage, though, here is the pick for us. This card is just really strong. Helps us proliferate, makes our lands do at least something in the late game when we're top decking some lands. Rescuer Sphinx. As it enters the battlefield, you may return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you do, it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. So a flying 4 mana 4/3 is great. And the returning things to your hand is often upside because you can reset these guys. You can amass again with him. You know, you can bounce a New Horizons, play it, put a 1/1 counter on something. Resetting Ashiok can help you mill harder. Proliferating again. You know, giving your stuff trample again. The other card in this pack that's good is Band Together. We would like maybe another Band Together, but I think Rescuer Sphinx is just really strong. Augur of Bolus. Look at the top 3. Put an instant or sorcery in your hand. This is just going to miss. This is for the blue-red deck. We're not going to play it here. Bond of Insight. Unfortunately, we can't loop them forever. I'm not going to play these red cards. Tybalt is strong. Your opponents can't gain life. There is a fair amount of life gain in this set, obviously enough that they included that white card, a Johnny's Pridemate, which is whenever you gain life, you can put a 1/1 counter on it. Pretty good against that, I suppose. But 1 mana, making 1/1s that shoot things for 1 is pretty useful. It can be helpful for getting rid of planeswalkers that, like these uncommon planeswalkers that sort of down tick twice, sit at 1, and then just kind of sit there having an effect. He's pretty good at removing them. Vigilance 3/3 for 4 is fine. Just dropped my phone. And when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get vigilance. So he's kind of like the white version of this guy, and he's fine. He's fine. Not for our deck. We've seen these guys here. Crawlstinger we've seen. Vivian's Grizzly's a new card, though. 3 mana for a 2/3, but you can pay 4. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker card, you can reveal it and put it in your hand. If you don't, put the card in your hand, put it on the bottom of your library. This is kind of nasty because if there's some instant sorcery that we really need, and we bottom it, we don't really have any shuffle effects, and that can be pretty bad. However, I think the card advantage is pretty awesome, so I think this might be our pick here. 3 is kind of clogged in our deck right now, but, we have to remove a few cards from here. We're probably honestly cutting things like maybe Huatli. We're fine playing 1. I don't think we like this card in multiples, but we'll take 1 for sure. Lazotep Plating. 2 mana for an instant that amasses 1. You and permanents you control gain hexproof. Pretty good. There's not a lot of discard in this set, so it's not like you're going to protect yourself from discard. There's some deal damage to opponents, not a whole lot. This is probably better for protecting your stuff from removal. It's fine. Maybe better in the Spells Matter deck to protect like a really big Spellgorger weird or something if they try and remove it after you've put all these counters on it and spent all the time building it big. Boltbend we saw. I've seen pretty much all of this stuff. Excuse me. We're looking for 1 drops, 4 drops, 5 drops probably. Wall of Runes is fine. Definitely pretty solid card with Huatli, but having both of them out at the same time might be a bit of an ask. I don't think we want another Crush Descent. We already have 1. Lazotep Plating could be fine. It triggers Flux Channeler. The only problem is when you cast this, you proliferate and then create the 1/1 token. So unfortunately, you can't proliferate the token that you create with Lazotep Plating. I think honestly, Wall of Runes is probably just fine. Our deck is not too slow, but you can put one. Oh wait, it has Defender. No, I think we want Arboreal Grazers more. Maybe we take Plating then. The real question is how many ways do we have to put 1/1 counters on things? 1 way. 2 ways, 3 ways. Well, let's put 4 ways, kind of. It puts it on itself. Yeah, I think we take Courage and Crisis. We might even play both of them. Makeshift Battalion, whenever it attacks, you can put a 1/1 counter on it. 3 mana for a 3/2, but it quickly grows. I kind of like this card, actually. It can get pretty nasty pretty quick. Skulker's a 5 mana 3/5 that can't be blocked if you pay 4. This is good, I think, as maybe if you're hurting on finishers in a blue-black deck, then maybe this could be good. You can just go 3/3/3/3/3/3 every turn. Sky Theater Strix, meh. Draw 2, amass 1, discard a card. Fine. I don't think we want more fixing. Spell Spinner could be pretty good. Snare Spinner could be pretty good, but I think we take the thing that puts 1/1 counters on stuff. We're definitely not playing the 3rd one. We're definitely not playing the 4th one. Man, this 3-drop slot is really, bulky here. Sure. Ooh, there's a nice 5-drop. It's pretty good. We'll take a Cron Triangler, sure. I don't know. We're not going to play Iron Bully, I don't think. But we'll take it. Strix. Ooh, Wall of Runes. I did want maybe one. So let's take all the cards out of this deck that are... So basically we need to make 12 cuts. So I usually cut all the cards here that are like not that impressive in the deck. And then we sort of add back. You know, I cut anything that I'm going, meh. Time Twist is fine. Guild Globe I don't think we need. Aven Eternal is great. Channeler's good. Sage is good. Got both of these guys here. Stinger we'll consider. Grizzly's good. Bully's meh. I think we'll cut the Courage in Crisis. Cut the Huatley. Yes, Rescue Sphinx is good. Bond buys back what? Band. No, we're not playing Bond, I don't think. Kaz Mina is good. Samet is maybe not good enough. Challenger Troll is good. Horse-Scale Crocodile is good. Thundering Ceratok is fine. Dam Breaker, we don't need 2 worms. Huh. So there's basically our deck if we want to play it like that. It's pretty good. You can also click here and see, you know, 15 creatures, 5, 6, 7, 8 non-creature spells, just fine. 3-drop is really heavy, especially on non-creatures. Questions is, do we want Samet? I wonder how good that card is. It's kind of a bad top deck. If we're like dead on board, it's just kind of bad. Alright. So that's basically it. That's my thought process when I'm building a draft deck. I'm, you know, considering the power level of the cards, considering, you know, what the what we're getting past and looking for signals in those packs is all beneficial stuff. And this stuff comes with practice. I've been drafting for quite a while. I'm not the best drafter in the world, but I think that I'm decent at applying sort of a method and just sticking with that method. My drafts go decent most of the time. This pack, this is pretty good. We get to throw a land into play with Grazer and then play Vivian's Grizzly on turn 2. I think it's fine. Yeah, let's keep it. Play our land, play our Grazer. Put a land into play. Yay, we did it. Cool, we'll play an island, play Vivian's Grizzly. Now, drawing a land here would be very nice. Very, very nice. We drew a 6-drop instead. Alright, well, let's attack. Mana Geode, sure. So, he may be playing this because he's playing, you know, ramping, he's playing big creatures. He also could be playing it because he's playing, what do you call it, other colors. So I think we go to combat and we attack. We'll see if he blocks. Yep, he blocked. No problem. Sometimes you can get people who are maybe worried about a pump spell. You know? Ooh, New Horizons is very good. I think we enchant our island. And I think we put the counter onto Vivian's Grizzly. We attack. Actually, we maybe put it onto Evolution Sage. I actually don't even mind putting it onto our Boreal Grazer there as well, because then it makes kind of all our creatures equally. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mana. Yeah, we play our thing first. We proliferate. Yep. Then I think we play... we just play Challenger Troll. Yeah, we'll just pass, I guess. Challenger Troll is going to hopefully help our Vivian's Grizzly punch through some damage. Oh, wow. Okay. We're definitely going to be punching through some damage here. I'm hoping he just pluses. Oh, okay. I guess he can't really plus, otherwise we would have come after his shit pretty hard. Yeah, that doesn't do anything for us there. Let's try and get rid of this thing. Nicol Bolas Dragon God, eh? Well, we figured out why he has mana geode. See how hard he can proliferate. Or permanent you control. I think we exile the Grazer. It's fine. We need our mana for these dam breakers. Thunderdrake, sure. Spark Reaper, sure. Alright, well, let's make it a 7/8. And then let's make it a Trample 7/8. Oh, interesting. I mean, we definitely eat the Thunderdrake and the Spark Reaper. Those cards are both could become problems in the future. So we get to he loses 3 things, we lose 1 thing. I'm totally fine with that. However, Evolution Sage does get a lot worse now because we don't have any 1/1 counters for us to actually proliferate. Problem. Now, if he just casts something to get back creature, get back creature and get back planeswalker, we're gonna be a little bit annoyed, I think. But you know, and oh my gosh. Well, at least we called it. Their big brain. So I guess he just no, he can't play it again. Yeah, no, he can't play it again. He can play Thunderdrake though, sure. Well, even Eternal's not bad. I think we just attack with the 5/6 and the 4/5. That's a tough question, actually. If we kill the Tithe Bearer Giant, then the other creatures attack a little bit more easily. Also, we get to kill Bolas a lot better. Yeah, we'll kill the Thunderdrake. So I think he probably just plays Bolas and kills the Aven Eternal, I suppose. I don't know. I think he has a tough time protecting Bolas here. He's basically playing it as a removal spell and a fog because he removes a creature and then we attack it and kill it. Costs 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That leaves him with 4, 5 mana. 4 mana. Yeah, it's fine. Question is if he down ticks on, sure. That seems kind of poor, but okay. Well, let's go to combat. Attack. Cool. I think we played another 5/6, make it 2/2. Ooh, nice. Well, we got him with nothing else. We got him on a 5-turn clock here. I don't like whenever they roll over our creature. It's like he's aiming a removal spell at it. Oh, interesting. Let's hope he doesn't just cast a bazillion totally losts against us now. That would be very annoying. Hey, that's pretty good for us. I think we put it on Aven Eternal. Then we attack. Sure. That's pretty good. Interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's quite a combo. Yeah, proliferate my Aven. Do it. Alright, so what's the Ral at now? 4. I gained 3 counters. Not bad. He drew 2 cards. Yeah, Ral's pretty strong. Find him kind of annoying sometimes to deal with. Yeah, that's a real problem. Wait, why didn't he... Oh, you're next. Okay. Honestly, I think we just start ticking up our Evo Sage. We don't really care about the mana. I think we just care about removing. And if we draw a land here, that's just super, super good for us. Like lands, honestly, we could just draw lands the rest of the game, and I think we'd be fine. Hey, that's not bad. What do we have? 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think we go down tick. Then we go 4 for this guy. U. Then we play it. And we down tick. So a 6/5 that he can double block. I think we attack, and we attack. Maybe we don't attack with him. What are the odds that he double blocks, and how much do we hate losing the Evo Sage here? Yeah. Because all we do is lose one thing. No, I think we just don't attack, as stupid as that sounds. Man, Ral ticks up so fast. Does he have an alt? No. Okay. Cool. So he doesn't... If he's upticking, I don't think he really has any good instants or sorceries in his hand. Otherwise, he'd just be using them. Ooh, that's a great draw. An 8/7, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we down tick on this thing. And we attack, and we attack, and we attack. Nah. I think we want to protect our Yang, whatever he's called. Well, that's a good one to get rid of, honestly. Surprised he didn't block with Tithe Bearer before he used up the... I think the proliferate creature is just better. Yeah, Yeah, okay. Oh my god. This card is just too good. He literally wiped our whole board with one spell cast. Oh man, that's brutal. That's brutal. No attacks. I think our deck is strong. It's like, I don't know. Can't beat that. Can't beat the deck operating off of one. Like, if he didn't have this, he's just so absolutely mana screwed right now, and we wouldn't have to deal with any of this nonsense. Flux Channeler's fine, I guess. I mean, we're not going to be able to kill this guy, but we can stop him from down-ticking next turn, I guess. He is running out of cards. So if we can keep him drawing his bazillion lands, then I think we're okay-ish. Blech. Jesus Christ. No attacks. Wah, wah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you win. You win, you win. All right, all right, all right. Well, that was a beating. I know I had said earlier that Ral Zarek is good, but like he is very, very good. Like he is, in my opinion, he's A+ bomb status. It's just absolutely nuts. He can do a lot of broken stuff. This format's so kind of slow and almost mid-rangey, and when he's copying spells and you're getting like, you know, 2-for-1s off of every single card you cast, not every single card, but once per turn, you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 like that. It's so hard to come back from. You know, you saw that we were so far on. We were very far ahead on board. You know, we clawed our way back into the game, and then we still lost from that position. All right, but you know what? You move on to the next game. You don't look into the past. You just kind of, you know, you do what you can with what you got. Now, this hand, new game. This hand is good, I think. I think this is really good, actually. I think we'll keep this. We've got some stuff we can cast. We've got, you know, oh, there's our double blue for this guy. So let's get that bread. So it looks like our opponent is on Golgari. Wolf, alright. A 3-2. Sure. I guess it doesn't really matter. Honestly, I think we just want to play Vivian's Grizzly. What are you? 4 mana 5/4, that's good. Trample, that's good. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, return target creature card or planeswalker card in your graveyard that wasn't put there this combat. Oh wow, geez, that's really good. Well, we're playing our island for sure. A 5/4 trample, goddamn. I mean, I guess we just have to make a creature that's bigger than it. So basically I can play Yangu here, but I think he just immediately dies to this Storev card. But I like him with Rescuer Sphinx. Maybe we just play Flux Channeler. Yeah, we'll play Flux Channeler. He has a 6/5 trample. Oh, he's coming in hard and fast. That's a good draw for us. So I think we play you. I think we play you targeting. Hang on. 1, 2, 3. New Horizons targeting this land. Sure. Then I think we play you, proliferate, and then down tick on the Grizzly. Now the real question is are we interested in blocking? Oh, maybe we should have put... I think we should have put the counter onto the Flux Channeler there. That was stupid. We could have Teferi's Time Twisted the Yengu. Oh, wow, okay. Thank you for mercy. Target you. Rescuer Sphinx. Return Yengu. Play Yengu. Proliferate. I think we pass. Then I think we're just going to basically go with the bash them in the face with our Rescuer Sphinx over and over again. So he may play like a finisher here, maybe. We can exile our Flux Channeler in response. That would be pretty sweet. Okay, cool. I think here we just down tick on this thing. And then we, oops. No, fuck. Go to combat. Attack. Yup. And then we play you and make some giant ass stuff. Draw, and then we discard, honestly, even Eternal, I think. Having a flyer. Nah, we just want to proliferate more. Then we pass the turn. And on his end step, we can activate Vivian's Grizzly. This is what this deck I was hoping would do. This sort of ball of, this sort of death ball that gets rolling. We don't have Ral Zarek here to worry about as much. Sure, yep. Sure. The question is what is he attacking with? Everything. Holy shit. Alright, well, let's go to blocks. So you are blocking here. You are blocking here. And you are blocking here. And we take... We trade... We take 3... Yeah. And then we activate. Yeah? Oh, yep. Yay, Arboreal Grazer. My man. think that should be a pretty clean game for us, I think, at this point. Yep. You can down tick. We'll probably just... Oh, wow. Discard a Grazer. He doesn't know. Next two attacks. We're at 5. He's going to trample 4/5, so I think we just don't need to get crazy here. Attack for 8. 2-turn clock is fine. Oh yeah. Guess we'll down tick, put a counter on the damn breaker. Put a counter on that damn breaker. What you got, what you got, what you got? Well. Okay. Alright, there we go. We knew it to be true. Victory, victory, victory. Excuse me while I crunch this chip. Play again. I think we'll play like maybe one more game here. I don't think I want to play Magic all evening. But we'll see how I feel at the end of this one. Well, that's pretty nice. Flux Channeler into Yangu into New Horizons, maybe? I think this is fine, though. You can see this sort of clogged on 3 mana problem, though. It'd be nice if we had a 1-drop. Excuse me. All this chewing. Well, we're both pretending that we're mono green, I see. Now, the real question here is, do we want to cast Aven Eternal, or do we want to cast Flux Channeler? I think we want to cast Aven Eternal. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. We play this attack. That's 4, 5. Play this next turn. We'll be on 5 mana next turn. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, in that case, we go Eternal Aven. I know it can't attack, but don't worry, it'll grow. If we play Jiang here, down tick on the Aven, we can also play Flux Channeler. Next turn, play New Horizons and Proliferate. Yeah, that seems fine to me. We don't get the extra Proliferate off of Jiang. Ooh, ouch. Well, we just got punched in the teeth. Yeesh. Sorry, I'll stop eating chips. I'm just really hungry. I haven't eaten anything all day. Brass is pretty good. Alright. So I think we go Forest. Oh, man. If only we got the Flux Channeler out last term. Maybe we can just do, I don't know, proliferating a whole bunch I feel like is just better. We get an extra counter on this guy, I guess. This is tough. If we play into the New Horizons, we could honestly play both New Horizons and immediately attack Vraska. That just seems not good. I think we just jam this thing. No attacks. You can have your other 1/1. Oof. A 7/7, eh? That would be a card we would like for our deck, please. Absolutely. No problem, my man. No problem. No problem. Target a land, that land. Uh-oh. Good. Even Eternal. Even Eternal. Mm-hmm. Oh. Interesting. Well, we're taking 7/8 here this turn, I think. Then we're playing Primordial Worm to block the Hydra. The 1/1 doesn't get any bigger than it is, thankfully. Mm-hmm. No blocks. We would be most disappointed if the spare sninner. Jeez. Snare spinner had some sort of pump spell to back it up. Holy fuck. That just became a 12/12? What? Wait, what? It doesn't enter with? That's insane. This card is absolutely insane. What? I mean... Like, fuck, what? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? I guess we could double block it next turn? I gotta throw a fucking Flux Channeler into the bus. Wait, what? It has Trample? Why the hell does it have Trample? It has Trample! Holy shit! Whew! That is heavy. That is heavy. Heavy, heavy. Well, this thing would kill us. We have to play this? I guess? Jesus Christ. I think we're just dead. Like, if we attack, we take 2 from this thing. We have to block that with every... Oh my gosh. But if he plus... I guess he can't minus, so this can't get any bigger. Jeez, no attacks. I think we're still dead, though. Double block, block, take 2. Yeah, we're just dead. Holy shit. That is absolutely insane, that Bioessence Hydra. Wow, we got ran over here. Big time. Bleh. Yeah, no need, bro. You already killing us. Oof. Yep, that's a good deck. Nice. Your card won the game for you. 15 counters on it. Oh my goodness. Alright. Well, we'll play one more. Feels bad to leave on a losing note, you know? But as before, you know, losses are in the past. You move on. You don't let that affect you in the games to come. This is a new game we're playing here. Let's look at our opening hand. Yeah, I like this. I think any hand that has Flux Channeler is pretty much a keep with, like, you know, some decent assortment of lands. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess it's better than nothing. Yep. This is only good if we draw a land next turn. And even then it doesn't really do anything special for us. No attacks. So when I click this Parhelion, it opens and shoots things with lasers, but oh, okay, it doesn't just do it. Open and shoot things with lasers. Open and shoot things with lasers. Yeah, there it goes. Laser, laser, laser. Forest. Hey, let's do it. Yes, that's exactly what we want. Get out. So I think overall, though, in this draft, in retrospect, oh man, if he Teferi's Time Twist, oh okay, phew. In retrospect, in this draft, I think that the blue-red deck may have been a bit stronger. The bulk of our deck seems to be blue. I don't think we care about trample this turn. I think we care about just punching for damage. Next turn we care about trample, I think. Trying to remember what the hell there is for removal. In blue-white, there's like bounce spells. There's like the white thing we just saw. There's like yeah. Oh man, if he has Wally, whew. That would be sweet if he did. Yeah, I think we just play this, honestly, and attack. Now the question is do we want to kill the other guy? I think, no, I think we just continue smashing him for damage. Nice. And now this still has trample to at least trample for one, hopefully, if he, Ooh! I was gonna say last game, oh, you know, it's nice that there's no board wipes in this format. Bleh. Immediately board wiped. Christ. And this thing's a fucking 2/3 too. Well, it turns out our deck wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped. I mean, we're not out of it yet, but Elite Guard Mage giving us the old, 3-for-1 or whatever this is here. I don't think we can attack in good conscience here. But Dam Breaker's a good card. It's a 3-turn clock if he's not blocking. What would be good here? Ugh, yeah. He gets to make another wall, I guess, if he wants to. I don't see why he would ever want hexproof against our deck. I don't think there's a single card in our deck that does hexproof. Yep. Yeah, it's good. This card is very good, especially when you can bounce it to your hand and replay it. Yeah. Yeah, it's a rough one. That's a rough one. We just really need some proliferate right now. We need 1/1 counters, and we need proliferate. Well, that's better than nothing, I suppose. It's too bad we drew land, and not Evo Sage land. 3 blue Narset. Alright. You got Time Twist. Alright. So he can reset his Teo, yeah. Ooh, he can down tick and reset his Teo. That's pretty good. I guess actually he probably down tick Narset. That ain't too bad. Just pass. Ooh, wow. That's a lot of planeswalkers you got there, bud. We need that old destroy any number of target planeswalkers, although he would still get to Teferi Time Twist, which is gross. Oh my gosh. Uh-huh. What does she do again, her down ability? Target artifact you control becomes a copy of another artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact. Oh my gosh. This guy's got a lot of planeswalkers in this deck. What can we do here? Honestly, we just need to draw like Primordial Worm, Primordial Worm, Primordial Worm. Because I don't think that this is doing it. Really? Alright. No blocks. Well, he certainly gummed the board up with stuff. Oh wow, surprise. It's Erratic Visionary. Who do we want to kill? Probably her. Or... yeah, I think we're just okay killing her. Actually, these artifacts can become 5/6s. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we need to kill Saheeli. Yeah, double block. Do it. Yes. This card is not doing anything for us at all right now. Because we're drawing no lands for the rest of the game. Alright, what you got? We are drawing big, giant-ass creatures forever. Wow. That's pretty good. Man, his deck needs the Flux Channeler. Would be really good. Flux Channeler would be really good, actually, for his deck. Because he's certainly got the non-creature spells. I don't think we can afford to block this. Well, I don't know. Now I think we're just out of this game. I think it's just over. This is too much to deal with. Well, it's something that can block. Let's see if he can find the line to crushing us this turn. Saheeli. Saheeli down tick on your Thopter, make it an Enforcer Griffin attack. I guess doesn't quite kill us. We would live. We would live at 1. No, we wouldn't actually. Yeah, because he attacks. Yeah, we live at 1. Or no, wait, what am I talking about? We're just dead. Oh, we're not dead. Yeah, 1. I was right. Wait, why did I loot? Lol. Oh, well, at least I got the forest off the top of my library. Alright, now we're going to draw our time wipe and somehow get double white in the same turn. Hell yeah. Amass 3. Cool. Yeah. Man, I'm impressed. This is actually a sick deck. This guy, man, if we're getting paired against this guy, he better be like 10 and 0. Alright, what do we got? Hang on. Let's make sure. 1, 2, 3. New Horizons. You. Activate. Hey, we got our land. Yeah, this game. I like this deck. It feels bad to just lose like that to such a powerhouse, but I think overall, I think the lesson learned here was that maybe we should have listened to the signal of red-blue a little bit better and built more of an aggro deck. Once a lot of these sort of battle cruiser decks get going in War of the Spark, it becomes really tough to come back. But as the moral of the story is, you do what you can with what you got. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.